Hey y'all, it's Catherine here at Indoor Kitty Cat, and welcome to part two of my speed build for More Than Meets the Eye. So let's go ahead and curl up, get cozy, and play some Sims. All right, so this build is quite extensive. I'm still not done. I spend at least 2 to 3 hours each time I'm on it. So the first 2 hours was on the shell and the layout, and these next 2 to 3 hours that I spent condensed down into 13 minutes of speed time was the landscaping and exterior. So uh, this was doing the terrain paint and the plants and the backyard living area. So right now I'm working on the front path area and the front entrance area and making sure that this somewhat, average looking build has a little bit of whimsy added to it at this point. Because the whole premise of this Let's Play, when I finally get playing, is that it's a very average looking family in a very average looking house, but it's just, well, there's more than meets the eye. So my goal was to make it look like kind of the traditional sort of landscaping one might have for a house, but then adding elements of fantasy in it. So kind of almost looks like it's manicured, but then you have kind of unruly sort of elements to it. I was very inspired by a lot of the vegetation in plants in where I live. So for me, a lot of big hydrangeas. That's why I size up all the hydrangea plants in The Sims. Um, Ferns and lupin and lavender, all those sorts of beautiful things that you find in the Pacific Northwest. Um, I was inspired by the backyard of my parents, where all the garden beds have curvature to them and things like that. So I had a lot of fun with the terrain paint and adding dirt to the edge of like the pathways and around the house and things like that to make it look like the house was built, and making sure the deck kind of was not had didn't have full on grass underneath there. So here you can see kind of how I have this unruly sort of fairy garden element kind of going on, and lots of lavender everywhere and the forest ferns and things like that. Lupin is a family favorite plant. My grandma B, my dad's mom, she really loved lupin, and anytime they drove past wildflowers when they were uh, on a road trip, anytime she saw a purple flower, she'd be like, "Is that lupin?" And they'd be like, "No, that isn't lupin." And finally, when they saw it, they're like, "That is lupin." And she was very, very excited about that. So that's a favorite story to be told by my dad and mom about lupin and things like that. So that's a fun little family memory. Here, I love stacking little flowers with medium and the large and having some of the more kept shrubberies about. But again, just really incorporating a lot of colorful floral selections all around the house. Now, my favorite tree is a willow tree. Anytime I can add a willow tree into one of my builds and it makes sense for the location, I add a willow tree. If I had a house of my own where I could have a willow tree, I will have a willow tree. So I'm making a pool. I wanted it to look very, very natural, which meant I had to lay a bunch of rocks. You're lucky you don't have to watch me lay every single rock, but I left just enough that you could see how long it takes to place all the rocks around to make it look like it's a pond and not a pool. It takes a lot of upsizing and switching around and picking various different sorts of rocks so they all line up. I got bored with laying the rocks, quickly did my lighting, and then I decided to add some of the lily pads and figure out where I wanted people to jump in and get out. And then it was back to rocks after I did some more landscaping around the willow tree, so it'd have a bit more whimsy added to it. I really love how this turned out, this pool pond. I think it's really, really cool. I skipped ahead for you so you wouldn't have to see all the rocks. And then I went back to the front. I noticed I really kind of jump around when I build because I spend so long building and I get really caught up in the details. And so I kind of jump from area to area. So I kind of find the gaps that I want to fill in. So it's a very interesting thing I've noticed about how I build now that I've been doing build videos for a channel and things like that. I have big respect for people who do build challenges and like a time limit. Like, I'm going to build a house in 10 minutes because I'm like, whew. When I watch them, I get nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, could I ever do that? I mean, I'm not discounting it, but it's not like top priority. I want to do more of my Let's Plays that I have planned, and get those going. But you can see with like even like ivy and things like this, taking square shapes and making them look organic and natural, like they're crawling up the wall. It takes a lot of planning and sizing down and alt placement. Like it takes a lot of time, and I really wanted the house to have ivy everywhere. And of course, it's like I have all this stonework and I put ivy all over it. Oh well. So then it was back to landscaping again because I jump around when I build. I just can't stay in one area for very long. I'm like, oh, right, I need to go do this thing. Uh, I've been wondering if I have executive dysfunction, especially over the last year. I've noticed more and more memes that have been shared. I'm like, by my friends who do actually have executive dysfunction, and they've been sharing things. I'm like, yeah, this is something that I have, and I'm officially diagnosed. And I'm like, oh, hey, I can relate to that. I'm like, wait a minute. So I need to go talk to my doctor about that because I build like I have this executive dysfunction. So I then added the weeping cherry tree because I think that is also so beautiful. And then I wanted to have a little sitting area also in the front just because I wanted to have lots of little cozy areas for my sim family to hang out in. Um, and then it's like, okay, I need to get this final little dirt patch in the front um, kind of situated, and I think that turned out really, really nicely. Here I'm using Jardin custom content by Harry and Felix Andre. I'll be linking the CC that I used in the description. If I forget to mention anybody, I apologize. I know I use the Jardin quite a bit, and then I use custom content from Ravishing as always, like the little swings that are in the tree over there. Um, you can always count on Ravishing to be in my builds. Let me just put it that way. But the Jardin custom content is really, really beautiful. I used a lot of the elements of it because I just thought it was a good choice for it. Added some planters, but eventually I kind of shift those around because I wanted to build a little playhouse for the children. So that will be shifted around. I love that little succulent chair. That's also from Jardin. Uh, I would love to have a fire pit. My parents have a fire pit in their backyard. It's one of my favorite places to hang out. If I wasn't renting, I would have a fire pit. So here is the custom content from Ravishing that I used. This is a little playhouse door, and I wanted to build a whimsical sort of fairy house, playhouse for the chidlers. Since there will be a cult play with it, I wanted them to have a place where they could just be themselves. So I think that's going to be really, really fun and something that I totally would have wanted as a child if it were, possible. But it's a sim, so I can let my imagination run wild with what I want. And I want a little playhouse with a little cute shaped roof like that. Love the Realm of Magic windows. Uh, I might end up actually changing some of the windows on the real house to incorporate more of the Realm of Magic windows when I start the decorating of the interior. of the house. The slide there, that is also ravishing custom content. Incredible, incredible custom content creator. I mean, I have been going crazy with downloading CC recently, so I found a lot of really good things. The little toy kitchen there, that's a Ravishing and Panda Sama collaboration, and it is phenomenal. The animations are adorable. I cannot wait to show it off in gameplay to y'all. So the interior of this, I was like, okay, what would I want if I was a supernatural sim child? And I'm like, I want unicorns places. I want crystals. I want cloud lights. I want stars and lights and, all those lovely, lovely things. So a little toy kitchen, little scientist set. This is a reimagination of the science table by Ravishing. And then I was like, okay, but I'll have this, beautiful the star curtains, and because that matches the door to the playhouse. And then I toned it down by having a lot of the black and white in there. I just thought that looked really cool. Uh, and then of course they would need a place to study, so not a desk, but books, of course. I would love to have a little reading nook like that. Growing up, I always wanted to have a window seat that I could sit in to read. Uh, so, never got that. I will someday. I will dream for it still. So I created a cute little reading area inside for my sim children for the Moore family. Um, couldn't give them a glass roof. I figured if they're trying to keep it somewhat hidden, they shouldn't have a glass roof if they're practicing their, occult skills. So, let's see here. All right, so now I was finding cute little stone figures to put places, and I found that fairy, and I was like, oh, I need this fairy because I have a little fairy in my garden. So that felt like something I really needed to get. So I wanted to move her over to our pond, and I found a beautiful place for her to be where it looks like she's like dipping her hand into the water there. So I thought that was really, really fun. And then I put Mr. Gargoyle in the front, and then I grabbed the little llama dragon. Uh, and or Lamasus, I don't remember, and put that little figurine underneath the cherry tree. Put a bunch of pretty lights in the playhouse, and then started putting a few more wildflowers around. You can see my little llama dragon there. I think that little figurine is so stinking cute. I've been noticing a lot of things that are kind of like new to me that I haven't really been able to use in a build before because I don't really build a lot, but I've been enjoying building for my Let's Plays and making my houses my own. So romantic garden stuff, they have beautiful, beautiful flowers, and I really love using them. I think they look so fabulous. But I'm really, really excited about this build and how it's coming along, and I cannot wait to do my interior design of it because it's just going to start adding everything that I want to it. So there's the front with my little gargoyle guy, and then there's my fairy dipping into the pool, and another angle because I just thought it was so beautiful. There's my little llama sis, and there you can see a little bit more of the backyard, and of course the front there of the house. So the next part of the speed build will be the interior decorating of it all. So it will be done very, very soon. And then you'll get to meet the Moore family in my cast video. I'm very excited for you to meet them. I think they're adorable. And I'm very partial to them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I cannot wait to show you everything else that's going to happen. Uh, but things have been kind of crazy and hectic for the summer, so hopefully I'll be able to be on a more regular recording, editing, and putting out my video schedule very, very soon. Kiddos will be going back to school soon, so that will leave me a little bit more time to do some of my more creative endeavors. So I look forward to that and sharing that content with you. Be sure to comment anything that you enjoyed and what you look forward to about More Than Meets the Eye. And don't forget to like the video to make sure that all my content keeps being seen, so then I can get more content out to you all. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell too so you don't miss any of the videos in the future, because hopefully I'll be churning out more regularly very, very soon. All right. Well, I'm going to leave you here for now, but in the meantime, stay cozy, be kind to yourself, and we'll play again soon.